With a massive ship makeover and a mission to get silver and magnesium ingots, we took back off for space to give this ship its maiden voyage and see if it can accomplish a salvage mission. But was it successful? Did we forget something critical in the build? Was it even able to salvage at all? The answers to all that and more are coming up right now. So the ship lifted off from the planet like a champ. Plenty of power, the cockpit was nice and airtight, only about 10% use of our fuel. Everything was looking great. Until we tried to stop. Here's where we ran into a big problem, and it was all user error on my part. In my own glee about this brand new ship, I had forgotten to put on any downward thrusters. Now, even though the physics in Space Engineers is very good, it does have a couple little quirks about it. One of those is if you don't have at least one thruster pointing in every direction, the overall flight physics gets really weird, and even missing thrust in just one direction like I was can cause the ship to not respond and slow down properly. Very similar to what we saw with my janky two-thruster build. I got the ship slowed down and stopped after a little effort, but now I was faced with the decision. Do I go ahead with my salvage mission, even though I had lost any fine control over my maneuverability? Or should I return back to Pertam and fix the ship with some down thrusters? What I decided to do was neither one of those things. Now remember, I have no jetpack on this challenge, so flying around and making modifications to the ship was completely out. But after a bit of study, I figured that I could cannibalize one of my port thrusters and reroute my conveyors to the roof to provide that one down thruster I desperately needed. It would mean just going with one port thruster and one down thruster, but at least this ship would fly and maneuver normally, which was really all I needed. With that in place, it was on to the rest of the salvage. At the first wreck I'd located, I had seen a large cargo container. That container could contain a lot of valuable supplies, like silver and magnesium. And even if it wasn't holding a lot of stuff, the container itself would be a great source of more metal grids and general components. I ground down a few more items around it, got another nice supply of metal grids and other things, as well as a view of the passing meteors that were still a problem, even in space. I found nothing with silver or magnesium, but the components I picked up were still good. My 2 medium cargo containers were also full. So I decided to just keep this mission as a short salvage run to see if the ship was capable and shake out any bugs. And there clearly were some bugs. In addition to the missing thruster, the overall gyroscope power on the ship felt a little weak, and this ship had definitely filled up a lot faster than I'd hoped. So, a lot more storage and more gyroscopic power were definitely on the menu. At 58,000 kilograms, the ship wasn't all that heavy compared to its lifting potential. Re-entry was easy. Minimum fuel was consumed, so it was on to the modifications. Redesigning and rebuilding seem to be an integral part of Space Engineers. I think I can pretty safely say that anyone who builds a ship from scratch in Space Engineers, particularly when doing it in survival mode, always goes through multiple iterations until they get something they're happy with. On this build, in addition to just fixing the up thruster situation, I was going to change around some of the things I wasn't happy with. I moved some of the interior conveyors to be embedded in the wall to give a little more space inside, and immediately went to correct my storage shortfall. It was a no-brainer for me to add a large, small grid container. These hold about the same as 5 of the medium containers, and it would be easy to keep my larger port conveyor system running from the front grinder all the way through to the large container and connectors. I may want to add another large container in the front behind the grinder, but we'll just see how this one does. I pondered the future of some weaponry for the ship, and did a very nice remake of the rear entry ramp. The gridded panels and angled blocks on the side were a big improvement over the plain, sloped armor block. It was mainly for looks, but being able to walk smoothly in and out of the ship with just mag boots was huge for our survival. And more, I think I'll be needing to get out of the ship to walk into space stations and such. The next upgrade was more thrusters, all the way around. With the exception of lift, I had 2 thrusters, or at least had planned to have 2 thrusters, pointing in all the other directions. But with those metal grids I just brought back from the Maiden voyage, an upgrade to 4 would be the way to go. For forwards thrust, I made that a total of 6, and of course kept a vigilant eye out for the Meteors. I know, I show them in every video, and it's become sort of a meme, but the Meteors, along with the spiders, are truly a constant harassment and threat. I tried again to sort out a good way to get from inside the ship to the roof, and toyed with different ladder positions and a possible ramp setup, but didn't like how any of it was coming together. So again, abandoned that part of the build for later. This whole time though, while upgrading the ship, I was planning my next move. How would I secure a good supply of magnesium ingots and some silver? I came up with an involved but hopefully clever plan. What I needed to do is build a jump drive for this ship, which meant going back to space. With a jump drive, I could go back to the one trade station we'd found, wait for a hauling mission, accept the hauling mission, and with the coordinates of the receiving trade station the mission would provide, could jump there, see what items they had for sale, and even mark the location for future travel. If I was lucky, they might even sell some data pads for locations of other trade stations. Mine hadn't sold me any of those. Now, you might be saying, Earth, this is a small grid ship, and without mods, the only jump drives in the game are large grid. I'd say, you're right, but I should also be able to build an attachable large grid jump drive module and lock it on with my connector to take both the module and my connected ship to where we want to go. That's my plan.
That is not a plan!
It's barely a concept.
To build a jump drive, I need a lot of material and a good bit of the more rare ores like gold and platinum. The good news, and what makes this a viable plan, is that I can grind down thruster components I get from ion thrusters I've found on some of the wrecks, get the gold and platinum from those components, and reconstitute them into a jump drive. The biggest challenge will be salvaging enough thruster components. It's a loose calculation, but I estimate I'll need at least 2,000 thruster components to build one jump drive. It's a lot, but it's doable. And assuming the ion thrusters have much of anything left in them, I should be able to get several thruster components per ion thruster. Lady Luck must be finally smiling on me, because this new wreck we detected was basically all ion thrusters, along with some intact weaponry. So, let's finish grabbing the juicy bits we want and see where we are. Let's also see what's inside these hangar doors that seem to be glitching from the wreck's damage. Okay, we've got about 320 thruster components, more metal grids and other things, and we're at 95,000 kilograms. Still fairly safe weight-wise. So let's grind down a few more thrusters and try to get as many thruster components as we can. We're up to 400. Let's keep going. Ship weight, 116,000 kilograms, 537 thruster components. It's a very good haul, and there might be a little bit more, but let's remain vigilant out here and keep our eye on this Dory Assert ship. Yeah, it's getting a little close. And it looks like it might be changing direction. so let's back away some. It's time to go. It's definitely coming towards us and gaining. A full burn directly away. Hopefully we'll get out of the sensor range and it'll break its interest. Okay, crisis averted. With no defenses, we have no choice but to run from that kind of danger like a coward. With the enemy ship sorted, it was a quick visit to the trade station to see if anything had changed in the store, and to give our remodeled ship a little test fit inside the hangar. No problem, still fits with room to spare. And the store still has nothing of interest. Even less than before. And as for the contracts, there's currently no hauling missions. But I'm not too worried. We know we've seen them here, so when we're ready, it'll just be a matter of patience. I'm sure. Or at least I hope so. We've got another assert ship passing close by the safe zone of this trade station. We'll let it pass before heading out. It even seems to have launched an attack drone. We're perfectly safe in the safe zone, but if we'd been outside, that drone might have been able to run us down and cause a big problem. Alright, let's get out of here and start heading on back to Pertam to face our next challenge. And that is whether or not we can get this heavily laden ship back to the surface of Pertam and landed safely on 50% hydrogen fuel. I have a lot of confidence, but anything can happen, and we'll find out in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.